and dangerous. And Dan, you were pointing out that how calm this looks from this perspective in this stretch of the pursuit. He's driving there in the correct lane, probably at a high rate of speed though. But you're looking at a street where he's facing just a minimal, well, right there, traffic. That's what we've been seeing throughout this pursuit. This kind of driving where he goes off the road into the wrong lanes, driving very dangerously to get around this traffic. Okay. Interesting to see how police will pursue this one as he dodged cars that way. The helicopter obviously overhead following him very closely.
Boy, and I can't help but think about yesterday, as many of you watched here on Fox 11, that wild chase. It was 3 hours long, spanning 3 counties. And that driver, driving like a maniac, hit somebody on a scooter. And have to wonder if the CHP and the officers giving chase at this point are thinking, well, we sure don't want a replay of what happened yesterday, or innocent bystanders. Could be people out for a walk, could be people riding a bike, a scooter, as we were talking about, unsuspecting, just based on what we had seen of this driver, and they're willing to just try to evade. Doesn't happen, usually does not happen. I mean, once the chopper is overhead, very, very few times do they usually get their folks. But we're watching here the camera pulling out, giving you a little bit of perspective. It looks like this may be some kind of a mixed use residential and commercial area. This is, I believe, in the Chino area. We're trying to get a firm handle on that for you. But this chase started a little after 4 o'clock in the Ontario area. And in case you're just joining us, we will reset the table for you here. The driver here wanted for assault with a deadly weapon against a police officer and has been driving wildly, dangerously, recklessly, and erratically, as you can see here again, driving off the road, that's the shoulder there, trying to evade officers.
This one started with Ontario Police. Then this vehicle was on the freeway. And that was a very dangerous pursuit there on the freeway there, driving at high rates of speed, going into the shoulder. This has pretty much been an open stretch since Fox 11 here picked up this pursuit to bring to you. It's been kind of an open stretch with not a lot of traffic, which makes it seem like this driver can continue driving forever. He has hit pockets of traffic. This is rush hour on a Friday. He is driving into parking lots and doing bizarre moves here to try to evade law enforcement. You have to wonder if he knows where he is going, if this is an area that is familiar to him or not. Look at that move there. What is this? All right, he is now driving along the side of train tracks there.
Yeah, that's right.
Again, helicopter overhead. Wonder if he's going to try to, there you go, police cars there right behind him. He's going to try to ditch the vehicle in a spot where we can't see it, perhaps where the helicopters can't see it, and try to run. All right, Dennis Zine, LAPD, you know this scene very well. What do you make of this pursuit?
I've been in many of them in my career. Just another typical pursuit in Los Angeles County. And here we have them running down, and the unit right behind, along with the air unit. So they'll follow very, very close behind and try to bring him into a condensed area, controlled area. Apparently his driving is extremely bizarre, which the officers have to use extreme caution when they're pursuing, but the ultimate goal is to obviously apprehend, but not endanger the public. And as we see coming up to these intersections, going through the stop sign, the hazard to the motorist. But that's why it's important for the police units to be code 3, red light and siren, to warn those approaching motorists, along with the helicopter overhead, that there's someone coming through, either a stop sign, red light violation, so someone doesn't get broadsided. But this obviously driving pattern is horrendous and very, very dangerous. So now we have black and white taking over. Apparently it was a plane car or a dual purpose vehicle that was immediately behind, but you prefer to have a black and white immediately behind, then there's no question that you're being followed by the police. And then you'll see driving in the left turn lane, then turning right. I don't know if that's a red light or not, but we see at least 2 police cars in this pursuit. You try to get as many as you can to use extreme caution. Is he armed? Is he not armed? The circumstances surrounding what initiated the pursuit. Was it just careless, reckless driving, or was there a crime involved? And as you know, Dan and Christine, we've seen a lot of these over the years. And sometimes there's a felony involved, sometimes just reckless, careless driving. So they take it moment by moment and use extreme caution. Ultimately, they want to protect the public. We see an air unit overhead, so obviously the air unit gives the ground unit the assistance that they need to make sure they keep control. This close distance that we see, the police unit right behind that vehicle, he may try a pit maneuver. This is an ideal area to do a pit maneuver. And as we see the continuing pursuit taking place in the vehicle. It seems that there's a light in the back of that vehicle, some kind of a flashing light in the back of that Jeep, which is a little unusual.
Yeah.
But it looks like we've got just the two cars, two police, or maybe three police vehicles, not two black and whites, and a detective or a plane unit. But it's interesting why they have that light in the back flashing.
We're seeing that too, Dennis. Yeah, I was wondering if that was just a reflection of the lights from the unit, the lead vehicle right behind. It's possible. We don't know for sure, but it's possible. We have to assume this driver must know at this point, as you were saying and pointing out, that there are officers and they do want this person to pull over and stop. I was wondering there, looked like there may be some familiarity with this neighborhood. Looked like turned off some of these residential streets. It looked like went through under that overpass, Gully Gulch, what we'll call it, and then right back on another residential area here. It just struck me that there's some familiarity, but smart to stay off the freeways at this point, for this driver's perspective anyway, because at this point, 5 o'clock on a Friday, going to encounter some heavy traffic, even coming off a holiday and holiday week. But staying in this residential and mostly residential areas, we should say, driving at pretty much high rates of speed, but at this point, a little bit more under control, but ignoring street signs, traffic lights. And man, we are hopeful at this time of day as it's starting to get darker. Sometimes people go out for a walk, maybe go out for a bike ride, and this person doesn't just tear through an intersection and hit an innocent bystander. You're watching an early edition of the Fox 11 5 o'clock news. Dan Cohen, Christine Devine with you. This chase started a little after 4 p.m. in the Ontario area. This is this is assault with a deadly weapon suspect. It was considered, and I should say the assault was against a police officer. They are saying that they are considering the driver here in this vehicle and possibly others, we don't know for sure, armed and dangerous. Just watching this play out live right here on Fox 11 in last we heard and we're saying Chino at this point in the residential areas here. What are you seeing, Christine?
Well, I'm just wondering here where this location is, because you think of LA and the traffic that we have at 5 o'clock at night, and this has been so open for this driver. Now, Dennis and I, we're watching this police vehicle pull up ever closer, perhaps signaling, hey, we're here. Or you mentioned a possible pit maneuver. If this is an assault with a deadly weapon, would they do a pit knowing that or thinking that the suspect is armed?
Well, the deadly weapon could be a weapon, could be a gun, it could be a knife, could be all types of devices. A solid deadly weapon could be anything. It looks like he's closing in for a pit maneuver, but a solid deadly weapon could be with a vehicle. Solid deadly weapon's a wide category. It's not necessarily a gun, but it could be any type of weapon that assaults the officer or an individual, a citizen in the area. There could be many, many devices used.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit more traffic, although this driver is not getting slower, or slowing down, I should say. It looks like the driver is actually speeding up through intersections and just completely, like we were saying, ignoring the traffic signs and signals. And so, of course, a lot of danger to the public, and, of course, these people setting a danger to themselves as well. Dennis, it did look like, that officer was moving in for a possible pit, and you said this looked like could be a safe place to do that. Not on a freeway, a surface street here, residential. And at this point, it looks like there are some cars pulled over, but I don't know, it looked like that officer dropped back and is starting to sort of re-engage and maybe move in just a bit closer as we're watching this chase unfold.
Well, we'll see this chase unfold. As you see, the area he's traveling, it looks like a residential area, wide road. You got, it looks like 2 lanes in both directions with a left turn. So you've got a wide roadway. It could be utilized as a pit maneuver location. Again, we talk about an ADW, assault with a deadly weapon, what type of weapon was used, etc. Was anyone injured in this particular situation? So it could have tried to run a police officer over with the vehicle. It could have been that, all kinds of certain situations. But the officers know, obviously, what they're chasing him for. We don't know at this particular moment, but it looks like they've got one.
That was a red light,
2, 3,
yeah.
4, 5,
just blowing right through red
units.
lights here. Yeah, sorry, Dennis. Go ahead.
No, you got like 6 units involved, so they got sufficient units, and obviously he doesn't want to stop. It looks like the speed is increasing. You see that unit creeping up on him. It looks like he's lining up for a pit maneuver. Wouldn't be surprised if he does. There's a nice wide area here. We got the center medium there, the wide grassy area, but definitely the speed is increasing from what it was previously.
And Dennis, we're looking here at the freeway. He was on the 60 freeway, and I was wondering why the suspect didn't get back onto the freeway. Location was Chino. This is south of Ontario, where this started by the Ontario PD. And we have it right here. The suspect is now back on the freeway. So, Dennis, how does this change the game for police pursuing this suspect?
Well, they'll bring in the California Highway Patrol. The Highway Patrol will obviously be close by. Oftentimes they take over the pursuit when it gets on the freeway. But here you got sufficient units behind following the safe distance. You got the primary, you got the secondary, you got another backup unit. And I wouldn't be surprised if the CHP does join in this pursuit. I'm sure they've been notified as they were approaching the freeway. Not uncommon to have them involved in that aspect. Obviously, the speed is increasing. The freeway looks pretty clear at this time. But again, we're still on a holiday weekend as we come up on Friday evening, and the traffic today was pretty light. But his speed is obviously increasing more and more, and he'll be changing lanes as quickly as possible, trying to elude. Once you're on the freeway, there's not many places to go. But what it does do is it enhances public safety as far as pedestrians. You don't have pedestrians, bicycles, roller skaters. You don't have children on the freeway. So it does reduce the hazard to the general public, but we've got the high speed involved. So obviously that incurs other hazards for the officers as well as the suspect, who's obviously at this speed. I don't know exactly what the speed is, but he's obviously clipping along at a pretty good rate as we see him passing all those vehicles. He's not changing lanes. He's got a clear lane there, but those units will be right behind him. But again, the saving grace is the helicopter overhead will keep constant visual contact. Now we see going into lane changes, but what we'll have is the tactic, the procedure, bring him into custody as quickly as possible. Now we see in the carpool lane passing everybody, and they'll just follow the safe distance. I would not be surprised if we see the CHP engaging shortly if they haven't already been notified.
Right, the 60, I believe this is what, 60 west?
Westbound,
yeah, westbound, and traffic is moving eastbound. It looks on the other side is sort of bunched up. I'm trying to just peek inside. I can't tell if those windows are darked out, maybe they're tinted, or it just is sometimes just the vantage point and perspective is difficult to see. I haven't seen any movement or anything. I can't even see the driver, actually. Sometimes they will make some gestures, roll a window down, something, just kind of give us a glimpse into possibly what's going on, state of mind. But we haven't seen that. Just the driver moving at a pretty fast clip in the Ontario area on the 60 West, in the Diamond Lane at this point, and racing right by the other traffic there on the road. We've seen the officers sort of engage, get a little closer, creep up, fall back. But the helicopter definitely will not lose the helicopter, and that's what we're seeing at this point.
And let me give a better idea of the location here, Dan. You're talking about the westbound 60, Chino area and Central Avenue, which is Chino and Ontario, kind of right in that same area, Chino south of Ontario. The suspect will now be coming up on the 71 freeway. So it'll be interesting to see, does the suspect stay on the 60 westbound or take off north or south on the 71 freeway? For a while there, Dan, we watched this vehicle on surface streets and now back on the freeway. So again, we asked that question, Dennis Zine, does the suspect know this area well or not? Is it strategic to be back on the freeway or not?
Well, it depends if he knows where he's going, if he has an ultimate location where he wants to flee the vehicle. Not uncommon for them to flee from the vehicle, leave the vehicle abandoned, and take off on foot. All kinds of situations. Is he familiar with the area? Once you're on a freeway, there's not a lot of exits other than you have those exits maybe every quarter, half a mile. But as we see, he probably doesn't know where he's going. Never going to take an exit. Well, no, he's not going to take an exit. You're going to continue on the freeway. Looked like he was going to make a transfer there. And I do see those windows. It looks like those windows are definitely blacked out, so we can't see the driver of the vehicle. But I would not be surprised if he is not very familiar with this area. And, you know, when you panic, you sometimes do some foolish things, and it looks like on the freeway, you don't have many places to go. He's not going to jump out of the vehicle when traffic's around him, but we'll see where he ends up. Is he familiar, not familiar? The ADW is a felony, if whether it was what kind of vehicle or whatever the case would be. Now we see the CHP coming into play. CHP is going to take over the lead. We see that CHP unit just pull up behind him. So the CHP has now been notified, as we anticipated. They're going to take the lead on this particular pursuit. The local agency will then back them up as the continuation. The CHP will then bring in additional units if they have them available, but at any rate, we've got law enforcement working together with the local agency and the California Highway Patrol, which obviously it's their jurisdiction. The freeway is a responsibility of the California Highway Patrol, and they're very, very familiar with pursuits and how to bring these to an end. But in this particular case, we have some light traffic, so the tactics will be to stay at a safe distance, bring it to a peaceful ending. If that's what the violator wishes, if he doesn't, then they'll use whatever force is reasonable and necessary. If they have a canine unit involved, so we'll see how this ends up. We know that one a couple days ago ended up on the freeway after a long standoff and brought the canine in, and the canine did take the suspect into custody. Now we see another unit coming in on the right. So there'll be sufficient units. Will they run out of gas? We don't know. There's another unit coming in to pursuit. So the CHP obviously is pre-deployed on this. They're going to be taking over along with the local agencies, standing and assisting them when the capture finally takes place.
Dennis,
take the individual into custody.
Sure. Let's talk strategy here a little bit. There's looks like this area of the 60 is about, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lanes. At what point would the officers there consider deploying, say, a spike strip? I know that can be not only tricky, it can be dangerous for the officers to deploy, especially across a 6-lane road here, and there are other vehicles. Talk the strategy for us for just a moment.
Well, on the strategy, it's seldom are we going to deploy a spike strip on a freeway just because of what hazard there will be to other motorists. They don't want it to impact other vehicles. But once we can block off the freeway and have traffic stop, and then you've got nothing except the suspect's vehicle fleeing, they could deploy this spike strip at that time. But that takes a lot of pre-deployment, a lot of blocking the freeway. But you've got these 18-wheelers on the road. You don't want to utilize a spike strip with them. You don't want other vehicles to get involved in that. So a spike strip would not really be deployed, and the officers have to expose themselves to some danger because that spike strip is deployed by the officers themselves. We know that they have to enter that roadway. They have to put that spike strip down, and it's a device that you have to throw out. You have to have the roadway. In this particular case, you have multiple lanes. The spike strip would cover some of the freeway, not the whole freeway. So I doubt if they'd use a spike strip in this particular case, especially the speed of this vehicle and the fact that you've got commuter traffic. Pit maneuver, with this kind of situation, they could deploy a pit maneuver, but normally the speed is too great for a pit maneuver. It has to be a slower speed to bring it to a pit maneuver. They don't want the vehicle to flip. They want to bring it to a successful stop, a successful conclusion. So bottom line, what they have right now is the pursuit. They'll follow at a safe distance. Again, we have CHP involved along with the local agency. And as we continue westbound on the 60 freeway in Pomona, they'll continue westbound. We don't know where they end up in Rancho Cucamonga, we end up in San Bernardino County. But as they continue westbound, they're going to be coming back into the city of Los Angeles. Eastbound, they would be going into the other area. Westbound, they'll be coming back into the city region of Los Angeles County, Los Angeles City. And again, traffic is pretty light. So for the tactic they'll employ is to stay at a safe distance, use the air unit to keep updating on the location. The units are close behind. If he does abandon the vehicle, they will be close enough to apprehend. But what we have is a light traffic for the most part, especially on a Friday. At this particular hour, we have very light traffic at 5:04 on that 60 going westbound coming into the city of Los Angeles from the Pomona region. And what we find is the officers are then sitting in. The calmness will come over them. They'll be more relaxed. They're in full control, and they're following the vehicle at a high rate of speed. And obviously the speed, you see him passing up existing traffic. So the speed, I wouldn't say it's excessive, probably in the 70, 75-mile range. Again, we've got the 2 CHPs, the lead vehicles in this pursuit, along with the agency where the crime occurred following.
Dennis, as we are watching this here on the 60 freeway, you can see police with a helicopter and that night sun lighting up that car with that night sun. Perhaps it's getting darker out there, and they're getting ready to use that as it gets dark out for sure on this Friday evening, or perhaps it's a signal just to remind that driver that they are overhead and they are watching. We want to show people a video of the suspect here driving, and there's a passenger in the vehicle who apparently gets out of the vehicle. So he drops off a passenger or someone takes off. There you go. So who knows what the relationship was with that driver and that passenger, but someone got out of the car and the pursuit continued. Again, this was when this vehicle was earlier on surface streets, and we are now watching again on the freeway, the 60 freeway. And Dennis, you mentioned going now into LA territory, the city of LA, from Chino through Chino Hills. If he stays on the 60, he'll hit Diamond Bar, Walnut area. Does CHP switch out, or do they keep the same vehicles there?
Well, they'll switch out based upon the CHP locations. They have different zones that they cover. The central area zone is different than the western region, the eastern region. So they will stay in pursuit. They're now the lead agency, so they will switch off with the appropriate area where they enter. But they want to return to their area. Again, you've got the local agency that's going to remain in the pursuit, but the primary will be with those local divisions of the California Patrol. And they got divisions throughout the state, up and down from Northern California down to San Diego. And they have a process where they switch off. As we saw them enter this particular pursuit, the local agency was involved, and then we saw the CHP come up and then take over the pursuit. But they have a process where they switch off for a variety of reasons, and they're well in control of this. But again, CHP has statewide jurisdiction. This particular situation, they will switch off from one division to another as they go from one region to the other. And it looks like we're heading into the Los Angeles metro area, if I'm not mistaken, looking at the freeways that we're coming up on. And as we get into that, we might find more traffic, additional traffic. And if this was a regular Friday night, those roadways would be jam-packed with commuters, people going home from work, especially at this hour at 5:07. So it looks like we're just going to continue at this high rate of speed. He's not going to surrender peacefully. Once he gets stopped, runs out of gas, whatever the case may be, they do a pit maneuver. If he slows down, we'll take him into custody. But this could go on for a long period of time as we see the traffic very, very light on the freeway. And I don't think they've done any blockage of that freeway other than the traffic behind the vehicle that's being pursued by the California Patrol and the local agency. And remind me what agency we have is the agency where the crime committed.
Right. Dennis, would the officers be running traffic brakes there just to kind of tell drivers, stay back, stay clear, as if they couldn't notice, obviously the entourage of police vehicles chasing this suspect?
Not really. They're not going to be blocking off. Normally, they're not blocking off the on-ramps. Here we see a vehicle passing on the left.
Right.
So what they're doing is basically concentrating on this. They don't have sufficient units to block off as we do a presidential or VIP motorcade, where we then block off those on-ramps and keep the roadway clear. Traffic will continue. Their primary focus is on this particular vehicle. But to pre-deploy, you have to have a number of units, motorcycle officers in cars, to make that pre-deployment. And that goes for heads of state, dignitaries, et cetera.
Right.
But a situation like this, they're just going to be primarily concerned. We now have probably almost 7, 8 units involved. So there's sufficient units, and they'll continue following at the safe distance. And obviously, we've got very, very light traffic. We see some traffic that passed him on the left, so they're not going to be interfering with that. Their focus is strictly focused on this individual in this particular car. And as we saw earlier,
is he slowing down?
A few minutes ago, saw a passenger exit the vehicle and just walk away.
Yeah.
Normally, a unit would stop that individual and see what that individual's up to.
I'm sure they've done that.
Yeah.
Well, we're on the 60 freeway still.
Well, I believe we transitioned to the 57 South, so we're now headed toward the Brea area. Okay.
Okay.
Looks like there's some slowing down here, or is that just the perspective of the
I think
helicopter?
it's sometimes hard to tell from this perspective.
Right.
Dennis, you commented on the vehicle that was traveling on the left side there. I wouldn't want to get caught up anywhere near a pursuit.
Right.
But sometimes, go ahead.
Exactly, Christine, because you want to stay behind. You don't want to pass the vehicle. You don't want to pass the vehicle, the police vehicles, pass the suspect's vehicle. You never know what that individual is going to do. If there's a weapon involved, if the individual's going to swing on over to the left and crash into your car, you want to always stay behind. When you see a number of police vehicles, red light, siren, pursuing an individual, you want to stay behind that. You never want to pass them. It's really foolish to do that because you never know what the suspect's going to do. You don't want to subject yourself, your passengers, your vehicle to any kind of danger, and it's really foolish to pass a pursuit. You want to stay behind that pursuit. As we saw, people did pass. It's really a foolish effort. You can just slow down, stay behind. They'll pass you, and then once there's another vehicle on the right, there's another vehicle on the right. It looks like they're coming on the freeway. They don't have many options except slowing down, let the vehicles pass, and then get behind them. You don't want to get alongside or in front of them. You want to stay behind for your safety and the safety of your passengers and to preserve the car so you don't end in your car smashed by the individual who's fleeing, because you never know what they'll do to try and elude the police. They will smash into a car and then flee the car. Flee on foot. There's not many places to go, and as we see, the traffic is really, really light. But again, we're ending a holiday time, so what we see is light traffic. He will pass the suspect, and the officers will pass the existing traffic, but we don't want to see, and we shouldn't see people passing the pursuit. It's really a foolish effort, and you could expose yourself to great danger.
Okay, Dennis, let's bring everybody back up to speed again. You're watching the Fox 11 5 o'clock news. This chase on the 57 South in the Brea area at this point, or headed toward Brea, I should say. Coming up on the 90 freeway, could head back east, Yorba Linda, Placentia, Fullerton, in that area. This chase started in Ontario a little after 3 p.m. The driver of this vehicle wanted for assault with a deadly weapon against a police officer. We don't know what that weapon was, but we do know that officers are treating this suspect as armed and dangerous. And also, we wanted to show you there was some pretty wild footage earlier, I believe, if we have that in the back still, of the driver. There it is, driving reckless, high rates of speed. Look at that. Right into oncoming traffic on the shoulders at times in residential neighborhoods. Very scary. We saw yesterday a different chase where a man on a scooter just got plowed into, and fearing that that very same thing could happen here. Pretty fortunate, I would say, this driver, that it's still sort of holiday light traffic even for a Friday, heading westbound. So I guess that would be away from the city and away from the metro LA area. The eastbound traffic, of course, is much thicker. But even as we pass a few cars, and there is a lighter traffic heading westbound again. I'm sorry, we're on the 57. I believe that is southbound, I should say. But fortunate still that it's holiday light. Officers are giving chase. They are just content at this point to sort of let this play out. Will the driver run out of gas? Sometimes they try to establish contact. Maybe there's a phone number. Sometimes they can run a plate, figure out if there's a family member. We don't know. Is this car stolen? That's a possibility. We have not confirmed or disconfirmed that. But watching this driver here at this point has shown reckless, total disregard for traffic and traffic safety, I should say, and just no intention of stopping at all.
We talked about the location, southbound 57 now. We're getting a little bit more information on this suspect, this person driving this vehicle. Our station finding out that Riverside Sheriff releasing this information. This all began around 4 p.m. with deputies from Moreno Valley Station in San Bernardino looking for a suspect wanted for a felony, assault with a deadly weapon. Apparently they found the suspect, and here we are now with this pursuit. Look at this traffic in the opposite direction. That's the norm for Southern California, where you see this heavy traffic. It's so odd on a Friday night. I know, Dennis, you talked about it being holiday light, but to see this traffic and this freeway wide open, which lets you think that this could go on for some time now. Dennis?
It absolutely sure can, for sure. With this light traffic, obviously people are home. They didn't go to work today. They had this week off. I know I traveled downtown this morning, and traffic into downtown Los Angeles from the Valley was very light. So with that light traffic, as we see, they haven't blocked any of the freeway. This is just the commuter traffic, which is extremely light. Brea, southbound 57 freeway into Orange County. And as we travel down there, again, the CHP has jurisdiction statewide, so they'll continue with this as a lead agency, and the other agencies will follow in pursuit. But the CHP is well equipped to handle the situation. And once the suspect's taken into custody, he'll be returned to that jurisdiction where the ADW felony occurred. Exactly what occurred, we're not sure. Here we see the on-ramp where the CHP unit is there. He will be joining the pursuit. Again, pre-deployment, seeing the pursuit coming in. As you see that officer in that car on the right, he will then merge in with the other units in pursuit. And it may be time for them to switch out from one division to the other. We see him in second. He may be taking over the lead in a moment. And if that's the case, then we're switching off to another CHP division as this continues southbound. We know one a couple days ago ended up in San Diego region. So there's no telling where these end up. It's up to that individual. And it looks like, as we see this car coming up on the left, the CHP unit, it looks like he may be taking over the lead. They don't ride side by side like a motorcycle officer. They follow in tandem, and as we see him coming up on the left, there may be a time to switch over. So we'll go to another division within the Calif Patrol jurisdiction to take over the lead of this particular vehicle that's fleeing from the ADW. Again, you got a felony involved. A felony involved is a very serious crime. All the particulars we don't have at this particular moment, but they'll use extreme caution to make sure that individual himself doesn't get injured, or the general public or the officers. And again, this is a very dangerous situation. When you're in pursuit, you never know what the individual's going to do. You never know what weapons the individual may have, but you know he's fleeing or she's fleeing from some serious crime. In this particular case, it started a while back, continuing at this high rate of speed down to 57 into Orange County region.
Lights off, windows darked. Very hard to tell what's going on inside that vehicle, but officers have been giving chase here for the better part of, well, I understand maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. Interesting move I noticed there, too. The last on-ramp that was passed, there was an officer on the on-ramp blocking traffic so that some of the vehicles couldn't get on in front of this chase, the suspect. But now as there's a little bit more traffic as we're hitting the metro a little bit, well, where are we?
Fullerton area?
Could be, right, exactly. There we go. 57 South. There is some traffic here and some bunching, and so this could get interesting here in the next few minutes. The driver here we saw in wild video at the beginning of this chase a while ago, driving in the off-ramps, driving directly into oncoming traffic in order to evade. And here we could even see just kind of drifting over that white line, and it looks like heading right into and close, look at that, very close to that oncoming traffic once again. And the officers there very cautiously, it looks like drifting over that line as well, just traveling at a safe distance and watching to see what's going to happen. But definitely more traffic now, not as wide open and holiday light as we saw a moment ago, or a few moments ago, but
Maybe it's Disneyland traffic.
could
Anaheim
be.
here.
Yes,
Anaheim, Brea
that's
area.
right. 57, Anaheim, that's right. Who knows this time of day on a Friday night. But yeah, we still believe that's that is the 57 South,
Yeah.
and we're now in the Fullerton area. We're getting word, so that's correct. We're heading directly toward Anaheim. 57. There are a lot of different arteries and a lot of different, I don't know what the traffic would be like on those other roads at that point, but we're close to the 5, the 91, on the 57. There are a lot of different directions that this chase could take us, but that driver there, lights off, windows darked out. Really, even as the camera pushes in, trying to see who's in there, how many people are in there, kind of hard to answer that. We do know that the driver at least wanted for assault with a deadly weapon against a police officer. And this chase, remember, started in Ontario, in the Ontario area. So just watching to see here. We have no injuries to report. We haven't seen any minor scrapes, any accidents, I should say. And we're hopeful because the police. Okay, we've now transitioned. We're getting told this is the 91 East. The police officers here, their goal is to bring the chase to a close. And of course, they want to protect innocent bystanders, but they also want to protect the driver and whoever is in this vehicle as well. They just want a peaceful conclusion. 91 East, that looks like, is that another?
Well, it makes me wonder if the suspect is choosing to go back towards the direction from where he came, because he came from the Ontario area. Ontario PD was on this one,
right.
And now going back eastbound and not going towards southern, towards Orange County so much in the south there, and he turned off from going into Los Angeles. So, Dennis, do you gain any perspective here, knowing this suspect here is driving now eastbound back towards where he came from?
Well, I don't think he really knows. He's in a panic mode, and in a panic mode, you just try to flee. They're chasing you. You're trying to lose them. That's what the ultimate goal is, to lose the police. And you see at least a dozen police vehicles, Highway Patrol, local police, and the air units overhead. So you just drive. You have your lights off. You think you're going to be able to sneak away. It's very difficult to sneak away on a freeway. When you're the only vehicle with no lights and you got a helicopter overhead, right. And we'll probably see that night light come on from the helicopter, the light that lights up and alerts motorists that you've got someone coming down the road, be careful. So when we have at least a dozen vehicles following, he's in a panic mode. He's obviously concerned about fleeing. He wants to get away. And now we're going to see some real dangerous driving as we see traffic starting to build up. And what he's going to try and do is elude as much as he can. But again, those units, it's hard to lose 12 vehicles and a helicopter. It's almost impossible. So all he's doing is compounding the charges against him as we see this take place. One thing he's doing wrong is not stopping. If he stopped, he could put this to an end. All he's doing is accumulating more charges, more serious charges that are going against him. He doesn't need that, but obviously he's just racking up more and more charges as this pursuit continues, and this is how you end up going to prison when you finally get apprehended. Whatever happened initially... All right,
wait, Dennis. This is getting interesting. Whoa. Now, done a U-turn here, driving back into oncoming traffic. Are we still on the 91? It looks like
off-ramp.
Now he's found an off-ramp, which is actually, I believe, an on-ramp. because there are other vehicles that are trying to get on the freeway from there. So this is really dangerous. Look at this.
Oh, wow.
The driver is driving directly
the wrong way.
on an on-ramp in the wrong direction. There could very easily be a T-bone or a head-on accident there. Okay, that was a fortunate miss. But we're off the freeway. That was scary. We are off the freeway now and on an overpass here, driving over the 91. So where are we? We are in the Placentia, heading toward what, Anaheim Hills areas. And it looks like the driver, I was going to say slowing down, has to at this point.
Blocked in by traffic there.
Wow, this is interesting.
Okay,
They are
wait,
getting out. Somebody just got out. Somebody got out and is laying
Whoa.
on the road.
Wow.
Right.
What to make of that person there laying in the road and not maybe just trying to let police know, I'm not moving. I'm not moving, surrendering right away there.
Right.
We're staying focused here on the driver, and hopefully we'll get more information on the person who got out of that vehicle. So that means now, Dan, there were two people in that vehicle. A passenger dropped off a bit earlier, and now this one. Boy, Dennis, what do you make of this one?
Well, with the tinted windows, you don't know how many are in the car, and that's what the concern is. So some CHP will stop, officers will stop and take that person to custody. The rest of them will continue after that vehicle, take him into custody, whether he has additional passengers or not. But this is very unusual. But again, when you can't see inside the car, in this particular case, those windows are very dark, which is, by the way, illegal when you have the driver, the passenger vehicle is tinted in California. That's illegal in and of itself. This one, the reason why they don't want those tinted. But the fact of the matter is he's dropped off two people, one originally, now the second one. How many more people in that car? That's another question we have. How many more are in this particular vehicle as he flees down the roadway? And I'm going to give you one statistic that just came out. This last year, 2018 versus 2017, in 2018, 145 officers were killed versus 129 in 17. So you're talking about very dangerous situations for these police officers, the highway patrol officers that are handling this situation. And you never know what this individual is going to do. You know, the driving is careless, it's reckless, no disregard for property and people. Again, you got two passengers that have been dropped off, one just recently, one previously, and now he continues to flee, no lights on, tinted windows, and they could have 4 or 5 people in there. There's no telling what kind of weapon, so it's a very hazardous, dangerous situation for the officers that are in pursuit, and that's why you need to have additional units to make sure you have additional coverage. When he finally comes to stop, you can take him into custody, and the officers aren't injured. They want to go home to their families. They don't need to be injured in this situation where you've got the public at jeopardy, the pedestrians, bicycles, cars, etc., with the careless, reckless driving this individual is doing at this particular time.
Looks like there was a U-turn there. We're in the Anaheim area, again on surface streets, this chase. That was wild there. A couple of things that we just saw. This driver driving the wrong way into oncoming traffic on an on-ramp. There was very nearly a head-on collision there. Fortunately, that was a near miss. And then we saw the driver didn't even come to a stop, but there was somebody that bailed out, just jumped into the middle of the road, it looked like, and laid down completely still, as in it looked like they were giving themselves up, as we saw a few moments ago. This driver continuing on, though, and again, still holiday light traffic. I know these are surface streets. Again, we're in the Anaheim area. Are we passing back over the 91? I believe that was a U-turn a few moments ago. He was just going the other way. So same overpass we saw, and this is, where we saw them get off into oncoming traffic. No headlights, darked out windows. Again, we've seen at least two people come out of this vehicle. So there could be others besides the driver. We don't know. That appears to be a large SUV. And with darked out windows, we do know this. The driver and who in this vehicle wanted for assault with a deadly weapon against an officer. So they have to treat this situation very delicately. And so far, the manner of this chase, that's exactly what we're seeing.
Well, and we don't know the nature of those two people who were passengers in this vehicle. I mean, just the way that person bailed out, the passenger door opened and someone kind of plopped out and was crumpled there on the road. Dennis, we don't know if that was somebody who was a willing participant in this lengthy pursuit that started around 4 o'clock, or if this was somebody who was kind of being held hostage in that car. That will take investigation to find that out.
So, Christine, it could have been a hostage, it could have been a victim, it could have been kidnapped, all types of situations. And I understand this individual, they say he possibly armed. So if he's armed, that would consider a weapon, a gun, some type of a deadly weapon. If they now saying that he's armed, But those passengers that originally got out in the second one, were they voluntary? Were they friends? Were they associates? What were they involved in? So you're talking about some very serious felonies. You're talking about some very serious consequences. You're talking about horrendous driving. You're talking about public endanger. And as you see a number of police vehicles involved, they're in there for a particular reason, to bring this to a stop, to provide safety to the community, pedestrians, bicycles, etc. Once this comes to an end, we'll figure it out and sort it out. But at this particular moment, a lot of questions remain. And those questions are, what is he fleeing from? What did he do? And what those individuals that got out of the vehicle, what were they involved in? Are they kidnapped victims, or did he just decide to let them go, or were they part of the crime element? A lot of unanswered questions. But the bottom line now is they want to get him into custody. They can use a spike strip in this area. You now have a residential area where you've got the narrowing roadways, you've got the center medium. So this could be an area they could deploy. But again, you've got the local jurisdiction, the California Highway Patrol, multiple agencies involved. Now you got Anaheim, you had other communities involved. So a lot of those vehicles will continue in this pursuit, whatever's occurred along the way. So it wouldn't be unusual to have 12 units or more involved in this particular chase, especially if the suspicion is that he's armed. And if he's armed, what kind of weapon is he carrying?
Interesting wherewithal as you're talking, Dennis. We're noticing some of the drivers in front of this suspect vehicle here pulling over, almost like they can see or are seeing what's going on behind them, saying, don't want any piece of this. So we have not seen any accidents. We haven't seen any collisions, but we have seen some very near misses and where things could have gotten very ugly very quickly. Fortunately, that has not happened, but we're still in the Anaheim area and on surface streets now and waiting to see strategy. Officers have been chasing the entire time from the ground and from the air, and have never lost sight of this suspect, trying to figure out, because of the erraticness, the erratic behavior, I should say, behind the wheel there, where, how to deploy a spike strip, when do you call for a pit maneuver at this point, or do you just wait it out, wait to see when will the gas run out? I mean, at some point, this will come to an end. It's gone on for a couple of hours now, but so far at this point, it's just a waiting game.
Well, when you've got multiple jurisdictions, as we have here, you've got multiple agencies along with the California Patrol. There will be supervisors involved that will be giving direction. The bottom line is you want to maintain public safety. You want to concern yourselves with the motoring public, pedestrians. That's ultimate concern. You want to make sure the officers are safe, and then ultimately you want to take the suspect into custody in a professional, careful manner where no one gets hurt. Remember, everybody wants to go home tonight safe. This man will for sure go to jail. Whatever criminal charge will be brought against him, that'll be at a later date.
Dennis, we're watching this becoming increasingly more dangerous as we see this driver try to evade police. And there's more traffic there on the streets. This driver has had the luxury of being on a pretty open freeway and in areas of the community on surface streets that have been pretty wide open. All right, here we are now back on an area that is wide open. This driver, though, choosing to drive with the lights off. How dangerous is that for the driver, Dennis? Because this road looks fairly dark that he's on now.
Well, it's extremely dangerous. We've got the helicopter overhead. I don't see the night light on from the helicopter.
Why is that, Dennis?
Well, for whatever reason, they're not lighting up the area. Normally they would, especially at night, keep that car lit up so approaching vehicles will see that, will notice that the police vehicle is behind you. You want to alert the public to the fact is there's an individual fleeing from the police. Police are following, whether it's a traffic stop, well, you don't have 12 cars following an individual traffic stop.
Oh, the lights are on. Well, they just turned their lights on.
All right, so
the
now
suspect vehicle, yeah, the lights are on now.
Because that road's probably among the darker roads that we've seen.
Yes.
As it's gotten darker out in the evening here, too. We're in Anaheim right now. Dennis?
So he doesn't want to crash, obviously, but the fact is he wants to kind of remain concealed. I don't know how you remain concealed when you've got a dozen police cars behind you with red lights and siren and a helicopter overhead.
It's a great shot there.
Not like he's going to disappear like magic, but with the lights on, at least it warns the public, at least gives him visibility for pedestrians. Someone could be crossing the street, a child could be on the bicycle. There's all kinds of possibilities. Ultimately, you want to take him into custody. This has gone on for a long time. We're getting into a later, darker hour, and as we come into a more populated area, more hazard. Less hazard on the freeway, much more hazard here in a populated area. We've got people in cars, you'll have people on bicycles, people walking. And that's one of the concerns, is you want to take him into custody to avoid anyone getting injured or harmed or struck by this vehicle. This man maybe has nothing to lose. He may have already been to prison, so he doesn't really care what happens because he doesn't want to go back.
Boy, these streets are dark, aren't they? Yeah.
Looks like it might even be a more residential neighborhood
there we
here.
go.
Much more narrow streets.
Spotlight back on now here too as well.
And you see homes there with their Christmas lights on. So we are in a more residential neighborhood here in the Anaheim area. And yeah, it looks like that helicopter is now lighting up that car, making it more visible for those officers and people who are watching this pursuit and coming upon it right there as he's in the wrong side of the street,
That's right,
running a red light. All right, so it's becoming increasingly dangerous as this guy is not doing anything to signal he's going to pull over and stop.
And this would be an ideal location for him to bail from the vehicle and to try to run away. But I'm sure they've got canines involved in this chase, and as we know, the canines are very effective in apprehending people who try to flee. So the darkness won't help him escape, and what he's going to try to do. And we assume it's a he. I assume it is because that's what the initial broadcast was. Assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer, and we saw the two other individuals who exited the vehicle were taken into custody, and I'm sure they're trying to communicate, get information from them, and then transmit that information to the officers that are in pursuit. But again, we see a number of vehicles behind. There'll be a supervisor directing this pursuit. In this particular case, you have multiple jurisdictions involved, but the California Patrol, they were the primary on the freeway. I don't know if they're still primary if this individual jumps back on a freeway, and I can't really tell the markings on the lead vehicle whether it's a local jurisdiction, local agency, or it's a California Patrol. But we know that we've got multiple agencies involved in this pursuit of this individual wanted for a very serious felony. We have 2 passengers have already left. So what the tactic will be now is to follow in a safe distance. There you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It looks like there's 8, 3, 4, 5, 7 vehicles involved, and there'll be additional on the road to make sure it's a safe encounter once it comes to a completion. But he doesn't want to stop, and they could do a pit maneuver, they could do a spike strip, they could deploy that. Those are the only 2 options. If he runs out of gas, that's obviously the safest option. But at this particular time, they're just going to follow at a safe distance, warn the public, keep the public informed, keep them safe. And if people live in that area, stay in your house, watch it on Fox 11, and hopefully this will come to a conclusion rather short. It's been quite a while. I don't know what time we actually started this. What time did we go?
A little after 3 p.m., I believe, according to CHP, is the word we're getting from our desk here. And let me just give everybody a little, okay, we're on Ball Road. We're still near Anaheim. This is State College, that area.
Road, yeah.
Exactly, Ball Road, if you're familiar.
Well, he's slowing now.
And there is some slowing down.
You have to wonder if he's running out of gas or looking for a place to bail.
Exactly, State College Road. Sorry about that. That's right.
So, Dennis, we're watching some change here. Police right there on his tail. Maybe there's traffic backing him up where he's having to figure out where to go, which move to make. But this is an interesting move here as he's slowing just a bit.
We didn't see a spike strip deployed, so we don't think that the vehicle has been there's no issue with the vehicle. Disabled, thank you. But you're right. It does appear to be a dark area. Maybe they're considering making a run for it, bailing right here. But it's going to be hard. There's plenty of light there, even overhead as well, and not a lot of cover in this particular area. But we've definitely seen the vehicle slow. It looks like it's running out of gas. Right? Let's see.
It would be uncommon. They've been going for a long time.
They have been going a while.
Right, especially the freeway speed.
And now we're stopped.
All right. So now, stopping and going. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Look at the police officer there. His front door is open. This officer is ready to bring this to a close. Obviously, they'll come out with guns drawn and order that suspect out when it does come to a stop. Dennis, is your guess that we might be running out of gas here?
It could be. It wouldn't surprise me. He's been going a long time. It looks for what reason, why he's stopping now. And that car just creeping along. And when you run out of gas, this is what happens. So as we see the police vehicle doors open, they're ready if he's going to be a foot pursuit. Again, they got sufficient units. He continues going, but he's going at a very slow speed. He could be running out of gas. This has been going on for at least an hour and a half. And he did some high speeds at one time. We don't know how much gas was in the tank when he began.
Right.
So it could be the case that he's going to jump out. He may surrender, which would be the best option, or he may decide to leave the vehicle and flee. He may just let the vehicle go and crash into something, and all kinds of situations take place. The bottom line is those officers are very, very close. They got sufficient units there. They've got equipment there to take him into custody, and hopefully it can be done in a peaceful manner for his benefit. The officers obviously are going to continue this until this comes to a successful ending. I'm sure we'll be at Fox 11 monitoring this to make sure the public knows he's finally taking the custody and there's no more hazard down in Anaheim.
Assault with a deadly weapon suspect. Sorry, Dennis, the vehicle is stopped. I can't tell if it looks like the driver's side window is down. I thought they...
Hard to tell.
Yeah, well, it is. It is hard to tell, actually. I thought we might have saw an arm waving out there, but I take that back.
We are at State College and possibly Catella, because he was heading south below Ball, so possibly Catella.
Pretty close to the Disneyland area as well. That's right. And no movement. It appears, I mean, it's a guess, but it
Police
appears
there
the
in
vehicle's
canine.
out of gas. We see the canine. We see at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 units there. There is the canine.
Boy, think, Dennis, of all those other motorists there that are at that intersection in their cars watching this play out. Okay, we're at Cerritos. Okay. They call it Cerritos. Okay, so Dennis, the concern here too is those other motorists in those other vehicles.
Well, hopefully they'll remain calm, stay in their cars, don't get out, don't approach the suspect, just stay in your car, let the officers do what they need to do, take him into custody in a safe manner. What the motorists need to do is just stay out of it, don't get involved in it. And sometimes we see motorists doing some foolish activity. We've seen some pursuits where they engage. They don't.
Okay. The driver's side door is opening. We're just going to kind of do it play-by-play here, Dennis. Sorry to cut you off. The driver's side door open. We see the driver now out, hands up, back to the officers. If this plays out the way we expect, that person will back away from the vehicle and lay down face flat on the road while officers move in. It does appear at this point that he is obeying the officer's command. This is an assault with a deadly weapon suspect, that assault with a deadly weapon against a police officer. And so all these officers here obviously treating this situation very delicately and very carefully. Well,
you know, you have that canine right there, Dennis, so that's got to be threatening right there. Go ahead.
Well, that is for him, but remember, 2 individuals already exited the vehicle, so the concern of the officers, how many other people, who else is in the car other than the driver? Is there anyone else hiding in that car? So they're going to use extreme caution, bringing him back to the units, as well as going up and covering that vehicle and making sure that all the individuals in that car are taken into custody, because we know that 2 already exited previous to this. Now they got the driver in custody, but who else is in that car? With the tinted windows, you can't see in, so they'll be very cautious as they approach that and to see exactly who's there, who else is in the car, if anyone.
I don't know if you noticed, but somebody on a bicycle rode right by there on the sidewalk. It amazes me, human nature of people who want to just kind of be near action. If it were me, I would be to the back of those police cars, not wanting to be anywhere near any kind of line of fire there.
This is not selfie
time. But the thing that people don't use oftentimes is common sense. The common sense says they're taking someone into custody, stay away from it, and don't get yourself involved. If he has a weapon, he pulls a weapon. You know what's going to happen after that point. So staying away is the best philosophy to protect yourself.
All right. So we're seeing he's taken a few steps to the right, and we are not seeing any fast movement from him. It looks like both hands still in the air, or is it just the right hand?
He's complying.
Yeah, it is both. We haven't seen him lay down.
It seems to me they're maybe trying to get him off the road, out of the street, onto the sidewalk there. Or perhaps away from any other traffic going the other direction. Dennis?
Again, they have those officers using the vehicles as their safety zone. They're going to get him over to the right, away from the car. Again, there's a concern about that car. Who else, if anyone else, is in that car? They want to make sure that car is clear. They want to get him away from that car. They want to get him towards the police vehicles. You got a number of police vehicles that are stopped there. So they want him away from that car. They don't know if there's anyone else, and there's always that big question: who else is in that car, and are they armed inside that car? Again, you've already seen 2 people flee from that car. This is the third, who's the driver, who's now surrendering. But with those tinted windows, you have no idea how many people are in that car, and they've got to use extreme caution. Once they get him handcuffed, then they use extreme caution approaching the car, making sure the car is clear.
He's still backing up. He's still backing up almost right directly onto where those officers are. He turned around a moment ago, too, and faced them. Usually, the officers prefer that the suspects face away from them.
Maybe to show his waistband.
They walked him all the way. Exactly, they walked him all the way back. That was.
Well, they want to look. They want
Right.
to look in the waistband. They want to make sure that there's no, if he's wearing a jacket, open the jacket, make sure there's no weapon. Again, assault with a deadly weapon. Does he have a gun? Does he have a knife? So they want to be extremely cautious when they put the handcuffs on him, when they approach him. So again, they've got their guns focused on him. They got the canine ready.
Looks like
and
the
hopefully
cuffs
he's
are
gonna
on.
surrender.
The cuffs are on, and we're going to wait and see if there's anyone else in this vehicle. It's possible there were 2 passengers in that vehicle that were dropped at different points of this chase along the way. So officers will, what, Dennis, take this. The driver is in custody, and they still have their guns fixed on the vehicle, it appears, and the canine, I
Right.
believe, as well. So they will do what they need to do to clear the vehicle.
They'll go up in a very cautious manner. You see a number of officers still focused on that vehicle. They'll go up, and they will. This is a very, very dangerous position. If there is someone in that vehicle and they are armed, they're going to go up, and there's going to be a nasty situation take place. Hopefully, the vehicle is going to be clear, but they've got to always err on the side of safety, and that would be assume there's someone in that car. Assume someone is behind the seat. Someone is ducked down in that car. So you have to assume that. So they'll approach with extreme caution to make sure that car is clear. Once that car is clear, will be a code 4, and he'll be on his way to jail, and the detectives will then come in and sort the situation out on the original crime. But what we have now is the officers selecting who's going to go up, who's going to search this and that. But until that car is clear, we're still in a dangerous position on this particular stop. Again, suspect in custody, but we don't know about the car.
But you know, Dennis, the way they brought that suspect far away from the traffic on the opposite side, and the way they brought that suspect close to them, that really allowed for the maximum, it seems, officer safety by getting that suspect to them and not having to go out to him in the middle of the street there in case there is somebody else in that vehicle.
Exactly. To expose yourself to more hazard, to more danger, really doesn't make sense. That, you know, he could have taken off and run. They would have sent the canine after him. But the fact is, he surrendered peacefully. He'll go through the process now. But the fact is, the officers are concerned about their safety. Again, they have not approached the car yet. They're going to set up a team to go in. They'll probably have a shotgun, a beanbag, other weapons to make sure. Check that car out. Again, with the tinted windows, it's like going into a van that you can't see in, and it's a very, very dangerous situation. If there's no one in there, it's simple. If someone's in there and they're concealed and they have a weapon, then it's extremely dangerous. So we're at that very, very dangerous position right now until that car is cleared. And they're setting up a plan to approach that car, and no one wants to get hurt in this situation. So you have 3.
They're moving in now, and they're moving in now. The dog is first, the canine. This is, that'll get your blood flowing and your heart rate when you're approaching a vehicle after a chase that we just saw with the completely darked out windows there, not knowing exactly what you're walking into or walking up to. It looked like the dog actually went in. Yeah, the dog went right in the driver's side there and came right back out. And not sure, okay, they're going to open the back. It looks like they're opening the back up, the back of the vehicle. Guns still trained on the vehicle itself. Maybe there's a stowaway or somebody back there.
I'm thinking with the canine coming out of the vehicle that it looks like it's all is clear the way they're standing.
Right.
Dennis Zine, we thank you so much for helping us with this long pursuit here on a Friday night. Like you said, holiday light, but they still got their suspect there in Anaheim. We thank you much for your help.
As we like to say, code 4, suspect in custody.
All right.
We're going to take a break, everyone. Step away. We'll be right back.